Okay, so Mark, let's circle back about maybe nearly 2 years ago now. What were some of the series of trigger moments that led you to think, right, I need to make a change now?
Yeah, there were quite a few. As I've looked back now, the main thing was the condition that I was in. I was overweight without really noticing it. Other people would kind of notice it, so I'd be out of breath, even during phone calls and walking upstairs. I can't remember the last time I actually went and bought clothes and left the shop with them because they were either too baggy or they were overhanging and you could see my shape through it. I was living off Rene tablets because I had a lot of indigestion. So there was an accumulation of things that were all pointing towards me getting really, really out of shape, more out of shape than I'd ever been before. But then I always knew that I was going to set up, as I do on the 1st of January every year, I'm going to change, get my body transformation this year. But the New Year's Eve was actually on the lockdown. So we had a little party just with the family. And I had to, we videoed it, and this is when I woke up to it. Halfway through a song, I had to sit down, and it was caught on video. And I was out of breath, and I was sweating. I wasn't drinking or anything, and I just saw my stomach overhanging my shorts, because shorts were what I was wearing in lockdown. And the next day when I was clearing up, that's when I took the photographs of, my before photographs. And that's the first time I've actually looked at it. I thought, wow, I've never actually seen myself like that. The stomach, it was the width of it. And all the the wrinkles and the layers. I've never actually seen that before. So it kind of accumulated slow, but that was wow, look at that. This is ridiculous now. But nobody had ever said anything to me, family or anything.
Just like you said, you didn't even realize it was happening. You didn't notice anything was happening. How did that happen?
Again, when you realize this, you actually look back and you start thinking, how did this happen? So, I was working in an office back then, and people would used to bring in family packs of biscuits. And analysing it, I really don't like waste. So if something's not being eaten, I'll eat it before the box gets thrown out. And it was the same, the kids would leave things on the plates at night, and I would finish them before putting them into the dishwasher. So it was all a little snacking on things that you didn't really want. I was actually doing so I could get rid of the packaging or get the plates into the dishwasher. And it's just over time.
What were you like growing up? Were you someone in shape growing up, or what was it like back then?
Yeah. Oh, right. Up until 11, I was quite chubby because I remember them calling me an Oompa Loompa at school when Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory came out. But then when I was 11, first year comprehensive, that's when I hit the gym. And I really sort of started to get a good physique up until law school when I was about 21, when you were a student, and the physique was really, really good. And then work came after that. So as a kid, quite chubby, but in my teen years, really fit, healthy and into sports. And I was going to the gym at that point on the weights anyway.
Okay. So you were sort of athletic until about your 20s. And then when work started, things just started slowly reverting.
Yeah. But I can't actually say at what age things kind of really got out of shape. You have the kids and everything. It was just that wake up call in 2021 when I saw that's how I looked. And ironically, I've been going back through photographs on my phone now to create a photo album. And what I noticed on the 1st of January every year, the shape's never actually changed. It's just got a little bit larger. When you do this is my New Year's resolution. So all these years I've been exercising doesn't seem to have had much of an impact.
Wow. And when you saw that infamous selfie now of yourself, in the bathroom, you took it.
Yeah. First of January. Yeah.
How did you feel, and what was your first sort of reaction? Do you think I need to do something about it, or was it more shock and horror?
No, I mean, I knew I was going to do something anyway because I do the 1st of January every year. What actually got me then is I was actually absolutely disgusted and kind of ashamed because nobody had said anything. And then you think, wow, my partner's actually been putting up with that. And the kids, and that's how I started thinking. But I was just thinking, I'm actually ashamed. That's the first time it sounds like this is a bit of a cliche, but for the first time, I was ashamed with how I actually looked.
Yeah. Have you spoken to your partner about that whole phase since now on the other side of it all?
Well, they just said everybody was just used to how I was looking. And, I've tried to, they say, you do the same every year, so we just stopped telling you. But then little things come out. What they used to do is they used to put junk food in the cupboard at the ground floor level, because they knew that because of my weight, I wouldn't actually put the effort into going on my hands and knees to go, because I'd be too out of breath. So They all knew it was going on, but nobody would actually say anything to me as such, because they'd heard it all before,
Yeah. And why were you failing before when you said every year I'm going to do my body transformation? Why did you not follow it through?
I know now with hindsight, it was definitely nutrition and structure. There's no doubt about it. Definitely the nutrition side, because I've done a transformation before, lost lots of weight. I was quite ill for a few days afterwards, and I literally put more weight on back then. But now what I did is, the first thing I went, and you talk about this in your book, is that, right, I've done it, I've hit my goal, and I ate 4 boxes of Rice Krispies on the trot because I hadn't had them for like 12 weeks. And it was that kind of mentality, get there, I can get back there at a later date. It wasn't sustainable. So I do hard, then go back, hard, go back. And that's been like that as long as I can actually remember. I believe more in hard work than the nutrition side of things.
Oh, so you're more of an exercise guy. Let me just go and train the diet rather than sort my diet out.
Yeah, and that's the problem I've had even with RNT, is that my mentality was, okay, I've ate a little bit wrong, so I'll just work harder at the gym, because I didn't realise any better. And that's how it's been since I was my teens, I think.
How heavy were you when you got to your biggest?
230 pounds, I think. I think when I weighed myself, it was 225, because I'd already started to try and lose it. So 225 pounds, I'm not sure, 16 and a half stone.
Yeah, it's about 105 kilos then.
Yeah. And I think that's the heaviest I've ever been.
Wow. Any waist size at that point?
It was 46.
Right. Out of interest, did you get any bloods done at the time? I know you said you had you were put on asthma pumps, but did you have any bloods, cholesterol, blood pressure?
Yeah,
heart checks.
Yeah, I had the heart check done because I was having problems breathing and my indigestion. So I thought it was something to do with the heart. And he did all the bloods, but it didn't actually throw anything up. What he just said to me was that really what I've got to do is I've got to lose weight. Talked about intermittent fasting, but he really says, it is really down to your weight. Try and get your weight under control. And I went to a doctor's as well with my breathing, and they said that it was asthmatic, so they gave me an inhaler as well. But again, with hindsight now, as soon as I kind of hit the sweet spot on the weight, those issues went. The breathing, the snoring, all that, it kind of literally disappeared over a few weeks.
Yeah. Okay, so you had this trigger moment at the start of 2021. What made you take action and join RNT, and what were some of your biggest skepticisms before doing so?
Well, I was definitely I was going to go for the transformation, but I always tend to do it on my own, reading and watching YouTubes. But this time I decided I was going to get a coach, and all it was is that I went to somebody that I respected their integrity, and I said, who would you recommend? And they recommended RNT, and at that point, that's when I started listening to podcasts. On my walks, actually. And it was making sense. So I was always going to sign up with somebody. But what I quite liked about you was it was all online, and you had those recommendations from people that I already trusted. So I didn't really go looking as such. The only frustrating thing was at the time, you weren't taking people on until the 1st of May. And I remember some sharp emails saying, well, I'm gonna go with somebody else then if I can't get in before the 1st of May. But we were in lockdown, so the gyms didn't open until the 12th of April. Anyway,
what were when you're listening to the podcast, what was resonating for you specifically?
A lot of people that you were interviewing, they had the same issues. It was a case of everybody was busy. I was busy at the time. They started to focus on the nutrition, and they were actually seeing the transformations. But it was just the things that they were saying. These were everyday busy people that had tried things before. There was one in particular, I can't remember, but he was a similar age. And he was literally a replica of my lifestyle. I can't remember who it was now. And I thought, wow, and what he's done, and that's what my issue is. So I knew that I was always going to, in my own mind, be successful. I just needed the guidance, because I knew that I was willing to put the work in. But where I'd gone wrong before is that I'd never had a structured plan. I'd always tried to work it out myself. So I was willing to work. I was just working on the wrong things, so it seems.
What was your lifestyle like then before starting? Walk us through like a typical weekday
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not sure.
I would always try and exercise at least 3 times a week, which would be in the gym. I'd go for a couple of short runs, but because of my weight, I was getting shin splits on certain surfaces. I don't drink, I don't smoke. So really, it was kind of what I thought was a healthy lifestyle with a little bit of exercise thrown in. What I didn't acknowledge at the time was the amount of food that I was eating. So now I know, for instance, how many calories are in a meal at a restaurant. Well, I'd be quite happy to have starters, a main meal, a dessert with the scoops of ice cream as well. And it was that was the issue. So the only bad thing about my lifestyle really was there wasn't any stress or anything. It was solely down to nutrition and not having a structure.
Was it a structure thing, or do you think it was an education thing as well? Where
no education, yeah, definitely. Because I had a certain structure anyway. You know, I had my routines where I'd go at the same time every day, but now again, because I know the educational side, it was portion control, meal hygiene, what's actually in. So, you know, as an example, when I used to go to a training seminar, I used to always go to the toilet just before lunch so I could hit the buffet first. And then if I stayed anywhere overnight, I would have like a whole packet of chocolate digestives, as well as pizza and things delivered to my room. And then with the educational side, like one biscuit is equivalent to that. And I've just had an entire packet. It was a total lack of education on the nutritional side. It wasn't just, I'm not sure what I'm eating. It's just like I'm consuming about 5 meals in that packet.
Yeah. How did it impact your family at the time? Your nutritional behaviors, or were you sort of in silo at home?
No, they didn't, because it crept up on me, so it kind of crept up on them, and they didn't really say anything because they just saw that's the way it was, and they saw me going out and exercising, and then I'd say I'm going on a bike ride on Sunday morning, and it's great, but I don't think anybody, and they knew that I was eating junk and I'd binge, but nothing was kind of ever said, because I don't think that they actually realised it was such an issue, similar that I didn't, you know, I didn't realise it was such an issue.
Yeah, makes sense. So you started your ONC journey. What was the process of starting like for you? How did you find integrating this new lifestyle, integrating new nutritional habits? Did you find it hard to let go of what you did before and sort of become a beginner again, or did you sort of embrace the process?
Cash, I was born for this. I just wanted somebody to put something in front of me for me to follow. And then along the way, there were some things I didn't agree with, and I've learned, and with hindsight, I was wrong. But no, as soon as somebody actually gave me a structure, you know, you do this. What I like about it is there's no thinking. They've told me. So I'll go to the gym. I know what exercises I'm doing. I know what order, how many rep ranges, even how long I'm resting. So I've not got to think at all. I go in, do it, and come back out. So with the structure, I just put that in, you know, after the school run, and then my cardio before the afternoon school run. So it worked really, really well. So I didn't have any issues with that. Where I really struggled with, and I kind of still struggle now, is the nutritional side. And I think I went through the entire course with Ed and Ivan saying, you know, it's nutrition. You can't, it's not about more exercise, you know, let the calories kind of do the work. And it finally hit home that, I've not got to work so hard if I actually have less calories coming in. So it all comes down to, you know, less calories in and getting burnt. And it took a whole year for that to actually sink in for me to agree with.
When did the penny drop for you?
Literally right at the very end, you know, and I sort of admitted it at the time, because I still thought the more work you did, the more you would burn. Yeah. And now I'm in investment phase. I'm actually realizing, no, you know, the body needed more time to actually recover, because I'm kind of feeling it now that my body's taking longer to actually recover because I'm working so hard in the gym. But back then I'm thinking I was fitting 4 cardio sessions in as well each week. I'm thinking how much of the recovery time for my weight training was that extra cardio taken? And they kept telling me, and I kept doing it. So, you know, I don't know whether I sabotaged my own, you know, efforts.
What else did you, because you're being so honest with, you know, not many people can admit, you know, where they go wrong, but where else did you feel like you think, I wish I just went along with it at the beginning? Because you said there's a few things where you realize at the end.
Yeah, there's loads. Nutrition is definitely the one, you know. I think everybody goes through it to begin with. Everybody says, no, I'm 100% adherent to everything. And you just know that they're not counting they're not weighing their food. They're not measuring the food. So I'd measure my food and I'd be really honest up until about 7 o'clock at night. And then that's when you want a little snack. And it's little things like that. And because it's the end of the night, you think I've got so many calories left to work with, I just won't put them into the app. But before you know it, you've had 2 or 3 chocolates, and then you scan it after you've eaten it, and then you think, right, but I'm not going to do it again. So you kind of cheating yourself a little bit. More isn't always better. So I always used to do what they gave me in the gym, and then I'll fit a few more sets into something else because I think I want to work on a different body part. And then looking back now, I'm thinking I probably wasn't actually getting any benefit from that because I'm just hitting into my recovery time. I think Ivan explains it that you're digging down into a hole, and because you're actually starting before you're fully recovered, you never get out of the hole. You just carry on digging. It made sense when he told me at the time. Yeah, so there was that. Oh, no, that was it. This is the big takeaway from the entire course, yeah? The weight training is for building muscle. Cardio is for burning calories. So it's like build muscle, burn fat. Whereas I was actually, not with yourselves, but before I was doing weight training, then straight after weight training, I was doing a cardio session. So there was a conflict there, which I now know is affecting recovery time. So that's the main thing. If you go into the gym, go with the mindset that I want to push a heavier weight, I want to do more reps. And then the cardio, I'm going to do it at a different time. And it's all about getting out of breath and, really pushing myself on that side. But I'm not expected to kind of build muscle with my legs.
Did you ever think you'd have to lose 35 kilos to get that incredible Sylvester Stallone shot that you got at the end?
No, they...
Because I think you battled with that for a long time, didn't you?
Yeah, when one of my concerns with RNT right at the beginning was, and I put on the application form, they said, what's your goal? And I put, I want to look like Rambo in First Blood. And I thought, as soon as they see that, they're not going to take it serious. Yeah. But in my head, that's what I was actually looking at. And you talk about people trying to say that you look ill and you're losing too much weight. It's never bothered me because that's the image that I always had in my head. But that was my concern, that they weren't really going to take me serious. So when they actually set the target of, I think it's 10.5 stone from 16.5 stone, I was thinking that's probably one leg. I couldn't buy into that. I thought that they got it completely wrong. And as we got close to the time, and there was a photograph that I saw in the gym, and it actually hit home. I put it on social media and I got so many comments. That's when I thought this is definitely doable, and I probably could get down to 10.5 stone. So yeah, they were right at the beginning, but it wasn't until much later that I actually bought into that. And I thought, they're spot on.
It's really interesting because it's something we still battle with, where we will say, look, this is what we think you're going to end up. If you want to get to photo shoot shredded, this is what you're going to end up at. But when you have that much to lose, it's very difficult to wrap your head around it. And I often say most people overestimate how much muscle mass they have and underestimate how much body fat they have. And it's a very difficult thing to sort of accept sometimes. Talk us through that process of like continuing to drop body fat and thinking you've only got 10 pounds to go, but really you've got 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds to go.
Yeah, well, I didn't even think like that. All I thought is that's my target, 150 pounds. That's what I'm going for. So that's what I was aiming for. I had other people, especially my mum, you're looking really ill. You need to stop now. I had people come around to the house that didn't speak to me. And then afterwards, I found out they said to my partner, is he all right? Is something wrong? Because they thought I had some sort of terminal illness. So they didn't want to actually mention anything to me. But in my head, it didn't matter because I already had that picture that I was going to be aiming for. So for me, it was just a case of keep pushing, keep trying to get to the weight. I was focused on the scale. So even one morning I was just over. So I actually went out walking for an hour just to see whether I could get that scale below my target, because I came 100% focused on the scales, which I don't tend to do now. So it really wasn't an issue. The only thing is how long it's actually going to take. So I had to move my photo shoot a couple of times, and I still think I could have got a little bit lower if I'd had a bit of extra time. And that's always at the back of my head. How far could I have actually took this?
Well, it's one of those things, like even when I do a shoot now, I'm like, well, what would have an extra kilo look like? But then there's always a fine balance between condition and just looking stringy. And I think your shots came out perfect.
Yeah, I think personally, when not so much on that day, but on the run up to it, there was just a couple of photographs that I took, and my face was at a different angle, and I thought that's just a bit too lower body weight for me. I'm a little bit too thin, but that can change a week of just what you're eating and everything. And so I always knew it wasn't going to be a permanent thing, but it was only again really late on into the program that it made sense. What you've all been saying is, get down and then it's not sustainable. It's only temporary. Just get there. So you've got that position to start from. Whereas before I was always trying to start from already too fat, if that makes sense. So I was never going to start from the right place.
And by start, you mean building muscle, or
just getting into shape? Yeah, because I've been down to that. This is the big mindset thing for me now. I've seen myself like that, so I know 100%, and my immediate family know I will never ever get into the condition that I was ever in before, because I've now been here. Whereas before it was all sneaking up on me, but that can never happen again now because I've seen the difference.
Yeah. What do you do to remind yourself never to go back?
Well, through all my training periods, I had that Sylvester Stallone on my phone, which looked a bit weird because when you get a notification, this naked bloke comes up on your phone. So I just kind of swap that with mine now, which looks even weirder because you've got a picture of yourself semi-naked on your phone. But no, it's little things like that. I've studied what motivates me as well. I'm into Tony Robbins and everything. And what I've realized is that I always used to think watching a Rocky video or something used to get me ready to go to the gym. And it's not. I'm motivated by music. So as soon as I get into the gym, and you flick that switch on your phone and that same Rocky song comes, your mind, you're focused 100% on the gym. So I can actually be driving along now, and if Eye of the Tiger comes on, I just want to detour to the gym. So if I ever don't feel like exercising, I know now 100% all I've got to do is put my iPhone on, put that song on, and I'm putting my gym stuff on. It's really weird how I've learned to what can actually put me into that mood. But I don't have to force myself now. But if I had to, that's exactly what I would do.
Where did the whole Rocky thing come from? Outside the obvious.
When I was at school watching Rocky 2 on the training on video, VHS back then, and it's just stuck with me since. Yeah,
it was just a goal that you always wanted to.
Yeah, I've just always liked him. I've never liked Schwarzenegger and all the other ones. It's really just him. There's lots of other reasons now as well. Now I've seen him kind of grow, but it's just, I just like the training, the music, the film, the feeling that it gave you. So, and that's all I listen to in the gym. It's the same track, the same rock.
Really?
Track,
just on repeat? Repeat.
About 7 songs, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you actually know what song comes on what machine. Now that's what it's got to, yeah. But it works for me. Everybody's got to find what switches them on.
Yeah, I like it. You mentioned you underestimate how long it would take you to drop the body weight. Because I remember you'd come on a call and you'd be like, oh, I'm dropping 16 pounds this month. Yeah. And you'd have all these big targets. Again, when did the penny drop that, right? You got to do it in a certain way versus just try and starve off the muscle at the same time.
I think when you go into the grind, one of the first things I did even before our RNT, I read your book. So your book had geared me up all ready to go. So flick the switch. And I read that probably 7 times throughout the year just to sort of keep me on track. So everybody talks about the grind and it's nerve-wracking, it's really painful and all that kind of thing. You're going into darkness. But I thrived on it. I so enjoyed it. And I remember saying to Ivan once, when do I actually start my grind? And he said, you've actually been in it for 3 months now, because that's how I was training at the gym. But my nutrition wasn't on par, you see. So that's what was slowing everything down. I was putting all the work in, but I was consuming too much. And it kind of, when it was coming towards the end, that's when I actually really started to cut down on the nutrition. And that's when it seemed to be like a couple of weeks where it was just really coming off me. Now, so it was right at the end that the penny dropped about how I would get the fat off. And that's one of the reasons why now I know that I'm not supposed to, but I want to do it again, because I know that I could actually do it so much more quickly and efficient now. But part of me wants to test it rather than just thinking it. So because now I know what I know about nutrition and exercise, if I had to start again that year with that knowledge, I'm sure I could take 3 or 4 months, because it did drag out. And that's what I'm tempted to do, just to see can I actually do it now as it should have been if I'd been listening?
Well, given that it's quite recent since you did do it, I'll probably wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, I know. It's just so tempting.
But every time you do it, it will get easier now. Like every time I diet, it's easier, it's quicker, it's more efficient because you just know the strategies and you know you don't make all the mistakes you spent months and months doing.
Yeah. This week I thought, I'm just feeling a little bit bloated. I just want to lose a little bit of weight. And all you do is a few little alterations to the diet, and you're going back on that decline in your weight again, and I know it's things like your food content and water content and things like that, which can mess around with the scales, but you do know how to actually control that now without making sacrifices. So I don't even during the grind, I never went to bed hungry. I was kind of in the zone, and now I don't feel like I'm ever hungry, but I can control how much I'm intaking.
How much did gamification come into what you do? Because I know you like gamifying things in your own head. Yeah. What sort of games are you playing with yourself, with just in general to make the process easier? Are you doing things at home like whiteboards and?
Yeah, I had a calendar whiteboard where I'd write my weight down, and if my weight went up, it was a blue marker. If it went down, it was a red marker. So it's all about when it gets to a certain size, you can see how much of it's red. So that became a real issue. I need to see more red on there. Your platform, for me, that was a game. Every morning when I wanted to get up, I wanted to make sure that I had the right amount of sleep, which I never seemed to do. But at the end of the day, all the other boxes I could control. I couldn't really, I know I'm supposed to, but I can't control my sleep as easily. Because I like to get up early or excited, and I like to stay up late at night. But everything else, steps, if I needed to get the steps in, it was all, I get to actually tick that box, and I'm looking for that adherence figure. I want to get to close to 100% as I can. So that was a bit of a game for me as well. I would say, probably the whiteboards are the main ones. I use social media as well, especially towards the end. I was putting my weight on there. I was telling people what I planned to lose, little bits of what my training plan were. So people would actually start to follow the journey. So that was a bit of a game for me as well.
Yeah, how much does public accountability help? Because I'm very similar. I every time I've got shredded or achieved something big, I like sharing the journey publicly. How much does that help you in your journey? And what tips can people implement for that?
Yeah, no, it definitely. You've got the community element where you've got a group, so it would be the RNT Pro, and that's one kind of accountability, but that's not the same accountability where you're sharing it with others that aren't on the same journey. So for me, it was a case of, it's not that I don't want to let anybody down, because I'm not bothered, to be quite honest. Yeah. It's all about, I don't want to be embarrassed by not doing, and that's why I would actually include a photograph of my weight. Or some of my photographs, the after photographs, so that I couldn't come across as lying. And if I knew that I had to make a certain weight by when I was going to make that post on a Saturday morning, that would be what was making me hit that weight rather than just having a bit of a cheat meal on that day. So it's very, very important, I think, for me anyway.
Yeah. And yeah, some people might feel shy or intimidated to do so. What's some easy wins to do to include that sort of public accountability into what you're trying to achieve?
People are more interested in your story. It's all the people that you don't think are watching you that are watching you. And this is what came across in that podcast where I heard that gentleman speaking. It was, he had done all this, and I resonated with that. And I was getting messages from people that were resonating with my position. I'm a father, I'm in the 50s, I can't believe how much you've transformed in the last few weeks. Can you make any suggestions to me? So it actually started me to realize that I was actually not inspiring, but I was actually getting other people to think about what they were doing. And then people were saying that they've started working. People were saying that what book would they recommend? So they'd have your book. So what I found is that people were actually benefiting from what I was doing. So that started to kind of push me a little bit more. But if you're a little bit intimidated by it, use things where they don't necessarily see pictures of you. So, I had a goals diary, so I'd do a picture of the goals when I'd achieved a goal. Your weight, that's not you. That's just something that's on your scales, bit of your training plan. And it will build your momentum up because you're thinking, I've got to post, once a week, twice a week. So it helps you move in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Mark, looking back over the last 2 years, how do you think how's the physical transformation been the vehicle for you in all areas of your life?
Yeah, that's easy. All the bad stuff isn't there anymore, and all the good stuff. I saved a fortune on indigestion tablets. I can't remember the last time I've had an indigestion tablet. I've got 3 girls, 2 daughters, and my 16-year-old, she finished school. She was going into the 6th form, and she got a job at the gym that I went to. And I didn't realize this at the time because I don't talk to anybody. I'm so zoned that I won't even look at people. And people were actually commenting on it. Is that your dad? How shredded is he? So for the first time, I was actually hearing compliments through my family about how I actually looked. And I'd never had that before, you see. So there was that kind of, wow, I'm proud. But then she started getting into training as well because she started to see how it's had changed me. So the confidence levels there. Every time I go into a clothes shop now, I can literally walk out with everything that I try on, which I've never done for years. Energy levels are through the roof. I exercise now because I want to rather than I think that I've got to. So I'm doing 12,000 steps a day. Without going on separate walks, I would probably manage about 3,000 because I work from home. Yeah. So I'm actually going out every day just to actually walk for the enjoyment. So it's had a massive impact on absolutely everything. But I would definitely say confidence on health. Over Christmas, I think the entire population and everybody I knew had this cough and cold. I wasn't touched by it, even though everybody else was. So I think I've got this superhuman, human immune system now. It's psychology, I don't know. And yeah, energy levels. I don't feel fatigued doing things that I used to do. So apart from the walking up the stairs and things, I can actually come out of the gym now. Yeah, I really feel like I've worked, but in the evening, I'm not aching or anything. I know that I'm ready for the next day.
How's it impacted your career and relationships?
Well, I've retired. I sold my businesses, so I haven't really got a career as such. I do a lot of Zoom sessions, and I work with a lot of people now as well. And what I find is that as used to be the case with me, when you got to sort of like the evening around about 5 or 6 o'clock, you didn't have any energy, and you see that with people now. I can carry on working 10, 11 o'clock at night. I can come out of the gym at 10 o'clock at night. I don't seem to lag on the energy side anymore. And I now, with hindsight, I do put that down to the stuff that I'm eating as well, the nutritional side. It's not just I've lost weight, and I'm a little bit healthier. It's the fact that I'm putting better stuff. I'm not having processed foods. I'm not having everything that used to make you feel stodgy. Like I used to have a fry-up. I had a fry-up at Christmas, and I can't believe how I felt inside. I wouldn't do that again now because you just feel like you're just contaminated inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And has it impacted things at home with regards to the nutritional setup, how you guys eat at home as a family? Have your habits changed?
Yeah, it's things like we don't have the takeaways that we used to have. Domino's pizzas, we don't really have Domino's. If we do have pizzas, they kind of cook their own now. One of the children have just gone vegan. I don't know how long that will last.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's little things like that, but it's really weird because when I used to go to the shop, I used to come back with junk food and biscuits and crisps and things like that. So they would eat that. But when I go to the shop, I don't buy that now. So, they don't have that to actually go at. So they're starting to eat more natural, like the fruits. And I'm really into salads. So they kind of start eating what's in the fridge rather than all the junk I used to bring for the junk cupboard. So it's had an impact on everybody, really.
Amazing. And if you look back, what would you say have been what were some of the biggest skepticisms or things that held you back from starting? Or did you feel like it was always a done deal?
No, it was always a done deal. But I didn't realize it was actually going to be as effective as it was. I thought, I'm going to be given a plan. It's all really down to me. I'll put the effort in, but what I didn't realize at the time is what I didn't know. Yeah. And that's what the game changer is. So apart from actually giving the correct weight training program and cardio program to do, it's things like that I never understood. It's like the rep range. Yeah, I get that. But I didn't understand why you had to have 90 seconds rest or 60 seconds rest. I didn't know why compounding exercises. You have them a different rep range and something like an isolated muscle. So all this that I'm speaking now has just come from this course. I didn't know this before. So it's all the little bits of wisdom that you actually pick up along the way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And what would you say to, we're in January now, what would you say to people who are kickstarting their 2023? They want to finally achieve that bucket list abs that they've always wanted, or a toad stomach, or whatever their health and fitness goal may be. What advice would you give to them at the start of this journey?
Well, from personal experience, first of all, I'm thinking that there's going to be a lot of people out there that think they've missed the 1st of January date. So they've probably got the next day. It won't be the 1st of February. Nobody does anything in February. So they're probably thinking 1st of March. I always used to start my workouts on a Sunday. Yeah. And if I messed up on a Sunday up to Wednesday, I would not do anything for the rest of the week. I think I'll wait for Sunday to come around. But now I actually realize that every day is a fresh day for exercise. So if I actually start on a Wednesday, I'm just starting on a Wednesday, but I'm exercising and I'm doing the steps and I'm doing the nutrition every day. So there isn't a set date when you need to start apart from now. So even if it's something as simple as, I'm going to talk about your book again, order that book, be reading while you're doing other things, but there's nothing to stop you now from saying, right, I'm going to from today do 10,000 steps. I'm going to buy myself a Fitbit or something. Yeah. I'm going to learn about nutrition. I'm going to join a gym. So, when you get to a certain level, you'll realize that this is ingrained in your life. It's a lifestyle thing. So you don't start looking for dates like when you're go on holiday. So my advice would be start now, join a gym. I don't know when your next intake's in, but, see if they can head towards that date, but at least pick up the book and start reading about why they need to do it. Because I know it sounds like I'm really bigging your book up, but I do love your book. It smells nice as well.
It smells nice.
It smells really nice. Is that when I read your book, bearing in mind I've done this for years, when I read your book, it all suddenly made sense. How you've got it planned and you go through the different phases. I think, that's exactly how it works. And that's exactly where I used to go wrong. And I've had people that have commented to me about that book and how it's changed their life already.
Wow.
That just buy the book and follow it. And that will make you understand why you need to start exercising today. Yeah. And I've not come across any other books like that. They can motivate you, but they don't actually explain and make you understand why you need to be starting straight away. And this is a lifelong thing. You're not chasing a 12-week deadline. This is like a lifestyle.
What do you think what do you think is the difference between a 12-week sort of deadline and a lifestyle solution that you're starting to build out now?
12 weeks exciting. I'm from a business background. I know 12 weeks is the perfect marketing time. It's easy to sell things in 12-week programs. Yeah. So I think there's an element of that, but 12 weeks, you can actually see some changes, but they're not what I would consider permanent changes. You can lose weight really quick just by changing what you're eating, and by your cardio. But after the 12 weeks, it's harder to actually build on the foundations, if you like. So when you're actually looking at the long-term, what your long-term objective is, you need the benchmarks. You perhaps might need the 12 weeks and the 6 months and like the 9 months, but you've got to know what direction you're heading, and there's not a race to get there. It all becomes part of who you are and how you live. Whereas you don't get that with 12 weeks. 12 weeks is, as soon as you get to it, you mentioned this in the book, is you're so focused on that 12 months that when the 12 months is over, you automatically go back to how you work because you don't know what the next 12 months is about. Whereas when you've got that longer plan ahead of you, it's just it's just one goal on the way to everything else, really. Yeah. It's just keeping you going in the right direction.
And what is the direction for you now, Mark? What are you focused on?
I want to go back to being lean, but I know that I can't do that at the moment. It's sustainable lifestyle for me, but I know most of that now is actually coming from the little boring things like the nutrition, the steps, the healthy mindset, that kind of thing. I absolutely love the gym. I thrive off the gym. So I want to push that as hard as I can. The only thing that I'm at this inner conflict is I know that I have to eat more to build the muscle, but I prefer leanness. So we'll have to see how that goes. But all I know is that I'm going to keep getting stronger, packing on the muscle. It's just whether I actually try to get some leanness there as well, just because that's how I prefer myself.
I'm interested. Have you been back to the doctors since your transformation?
No, I've not even had a cold.
No, what I mean by that is the checks.
Honestly, I suppose I shouldn't I really, thinking about it? We've got something to compare against. But Yeah, I mean, something else you pick up in the groups and the cohorts and some of the podcasts is, and when we were doing the Zoom calls with the coaches as well, people had like minor injuries and, twisted things. I haven't been like that since I've actually started. I haven't had a single injury through anything. I've not had a single cold. This is why something's happened,
Yeah.
So I'm buzzing. So it would be tempted to go back, but I'm not a big believer in doctors anyway, to be quite honest. So It's only figures. I know how I feel and look.
Good man. Any final parting words of wisdom from yourself?
Get a Cash's book. Yeah. No, honestly, it is. I still read it now in different sections. Read the book because it makes you understand everything, and then just realize that it's all the little things. It's just having steps daily. It's getting your nutrition under control, which you've got to learn about. I mean, I'll give one example so it hits home. I always knew a dessert was really bad, but what I didn't realize is that there was as many calories as the lump of ice cream that you have with your cake. And I used to have 3 lumps of ice cream with the cake. So suddenly that makes it more than the main meal. It's the educational side that people need. And again, just get a program that gives you the educational side rather than the exercises that you do for this long. You've really got to learn about the nutritional side and the lifestyle side.
Just for anyone listening, just Mark isn't getting anything for recommending my book.
No. I've not even prepared for this, So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing your transformation, and I'm really excited to see how you continue to grow with us here. So, yeah, onwards and upwards in 2023.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, Akash. Thanks.